Hey guys, how's it going? Today we're going to be starting a bunch of pepper seeds and spraying our fruit trees out in the orchard. But first, look at these snowdrops. Oh, I was so worried for these because a lot of them came up this past fall and bloomed. And I didn't know what that was all about. They were all off schedule, but here they are. They're coming up kind of all over the place. Some of them are just popping through the soil. Some of them have blooms that are about to open, but I just wanted to show you how gorgeous they are. Also, I have a whole bunch of hellebores here that I haven't cleaned up from winter yet. I mean, clearly we still have snow here, but I was noticing this morning that a few of them have buds and blooms. Look at that. With snow just a few feet away. And then over here, there's another one. Look at all of these. Oh my goodness, this one looks like it's wanting to open. And a lot of them have new growth and buds just coming up. I knew you guys would share in my excitement over seeing some late winter blooms. It's just fun to see something going on out here this time of year. So let's head to the greenhouse and start our pepper seeds, and then we'll run out to the orchard when it's a little bit warmer today. Maybe we'll put a timestamp on the screen when fruit tree spraying will start, in case that's what you came here for. Okay, so here's what we've got. 9 different varieties of pepper. We're only gonna be starting 1 tray though, so 24 total. I'm gonna do 2 each of our hot peppers, 3 each of our sweet peppers. So for hot peppers, I'm growing 3 varieties I've never grown before, and those are Glow, Red Flame, and Aurora. Fireaway Hot and Heavy I've been growing for several years, super great. And I use this to string up, to dry and string. There's some in our root cellar. We've got Cubanelle, which is in the middle of the road. It's usually a sweet, more on the sweet side, but sometimes it can have a little bit of heat. And I guess I've read that chefs often prefer this over regular bell pepper types. And then we've got 4 sweet peppers. We've got yellow, red, green, and this is called Dough Hill, which I thought might be an orange based on the picture, but I'm thinking it might be a yellow because it says Golden Bell. I've got tags all made up. I've got my tray here. We've got a little bit of soil left from our last project, but I'm gonna have to make up some more. And this isn't all the varieties I'll be growing this year. These are just the ones I'm gonna be starting from seed. The rest I'll pick up down at the garden center. They usually get in a really fun assortment of peppers, like some really weird random varieties I've never heard of, and then standards like jalapeno, jalafuegos are really good. I'll be picking up some of those, probably some banana peppers and things like that. I actually only picked up 1 variety of seed, and that was the Aurora pepper. The rest were either sent to us or I already had on hand, so I figured I would just get them growing. Okay, so let's get our soil moistened and packed in the tray. We're going to be burying these seeds 1/4 of an inch deep. Pretty easy. Okay, so the flat is all ready. I've got my soil in there. You can see I made 1/4 inch indents just with my finger in each one of the cells. And then I went ahead and labeled each cell first so that I didn't get confused. And I'll make sure to put the right seeds in the right cells. Now you can see the seeds right here. I usually just put 2 in each cell, but I've had the ones in the plastic bags I've had for several years. So I'm going to probably double that amount and just use up what I have here in the cells because I want to make sure that some germinate. On the newer ones I have, so all of these here and then the Dough Hill, I'll just be doing 2 seeds per cell. Okay, so for this first one, I've got a few seeds here. Put 1 more in there, and then we'll cover them over. And I'm just going to continue that with the rest of the seeds until the flat is done. Then we will water it in. Now you notice that I did put a very fine layer of vermiculite over the top. That's not necessary to do, but I find that it very much so helps with moisture retention in the soil. Also with algae growth, it keeps that at bay. Ever since I used it the first time a few years ago, and it worked so wonderfully well, I've just kind of adopted the practice. We're gonna dome it and take it inside. So I'm taking them in the studio because I like to have a much warmer soil temperature consistently to germinate the quickest. So inside we have it at about 70. I'm gonna pop them on a heat mat in there, which isn't necessary to do. I grew my last batch. I started some peppers in November and they're about ready to bloom right now. I did not use a heat mat for that. It just takes a few more days for them to germinate. So as long as they're in just kind of nice consistent temperatures, they will usually get going. I want to get mine going and back out here as soon as possible because I feel like everything's going to grow better out here than it grows in our studio. And once they germinate, so 80 to 90 degree soil temp until they germinate, and then 70 degrees or so after they germinate. I do notice that I find some different information in terms of when you should start your peppers. Some packets will say 10 to 12 weeks, some will say 8 to 10 weeks, some will say just 8 weeks, and some will even say 6 to 8 weeks. I usually find that 8 to 10 weeks is about the sweet spot for peppers, and then 6 to 8 weeks is the good spot for tomatoes. So anyway, I figure as long as I start them in the studio, get them out here. If I need to pot them up, I probably won't need to, but if I do need to, I can do that. I should have space in here to pot up this many peppers and just have them sit here for a little while longer if we happen to have an extended cold time, which sometimes we do. Like right now it's beautiful. We have a cold front though coming through this week where we're going to have temperatures in the teens for 4 nights. Anyway, you just kind of never know. A couple of other things about peppers is that they don't like to get root bound in their containers or their cell packs. Nothing really does. It makes the plant struggle and it makes the transition when you plant them out a little bit tougher on the plants. So once your peppers have germinated and have formed their first set of true leaves, if you don't have them in a large enough cell, like something 2 inches or larger, you want to make sure to bump them up into something bigger. Ours here are 2 by 2, so we should be good for a while, but since we're planting ours at the longer end of things, it's likely we're going to have to pot them up at least one time. If you wait until closer to your average last frost date in that window, like the 8 weeks rather than the 10 weeks early, you may not have to do that if your cells are large enough. Also, you want to make sure that you're feeding them the right fertilizer. If you give them something that's too high in nitrogen, it promotes a lot of leafy growth and not very many fruit. So we're going to give them when they're in their baby stages in here. Usually I give half strength fertilizer to a lot of my things once they have put on enough growth. So we will be giving ours some bloom fertilizer, which I have in here somewhere. So this one, it says bloom on it, but this is a higher phosphorus fertilizer which promotes flowers and fruiting. So you can see back here the analysis is 131. 1 represents the nitrogen number and then the middle number is your phosphorus. So you can see that this one is higher in phosphorus, so that is what we want to do. And we'll do half strength when they're little. Like for example, these are just starting to form their first set of true leaves. I won't even fertilize these until they have their first true leaves. Once that happens, and maybe even a little bit longer after that, I will do half strength. And then once the plants have, these are all cabbage and broccoli, once the plants have more like filled their cell a little bit better, then I'll start in with a full strength. Another example here, we've got delphiniums that are looking really nice. You can see that they have formed their first set of true leaves. I have given these half strength fertilizer. Once they get a little bit bigger and they're filling their little containers or their little cells a little bit better, we'll do full strength. Okay, so we just need to take these into the studio and pop them under a grow light. Now the grow light does not have to be on until you see green emerging from the soil. When you see that first seed germinate, then you want to get your grow light on. Once the whole tray has germinated, the humidity dome will come off and I will have a fan. Actually, I have fans running already. Fans oscillating nearby your seedlings is super important. 1, to mimic wind from outside, and 2, it makes them a lot stronger. It also helps with that hardening off period so that you don't like subject weak plants that have never been subjected to any adversity to outdoor weather. Alrighty. They get to hang out next to our dianthus and eucalyptus. I'll set up my heat mat underneath the peppers later today. I actually had to order another one because the rest of mine are in the greenhouse in use already. So anyway, by the end of today, we'll have proper heat under them. But again, it's not 100% necessary. It just speeds up the process. Pepper seeds take a lot longer to germinate in cooler soil. But the peppers I had in here earlier, it's about 70 in here, and they did just fine. It just took them a bit longer. But you can see I have the oscillating fan right in front of me, and it's just blowing air, nice gentle air, over everything right here. All right, so now let's head out to the orchard and get the fruit trees sprayed. It's nice and sunny today. Okay, so we are standing out back behind the orchard. I wanted to start in this spot because this is where we started this exact project last year, but the view has changed. Last year, all that was out here were the trees. That was the very first thing we planted. There are 4 on this side, 1 right behind the shed, and then 4 on the other side. But the shed clearly wasn't here. It's still in process. They've started the siding right there. You can see that. The orchard fence was not in, so the picket wasn't in. This fence hides a lot of pelletized items, implements for our tractor. You could see some of those in last year's video. We have blueberries in tubs over here. There's not much going on in the cut flower garden yet, but you can see the definition a little bit better. And the trees are bigger. So we planted 9 trees. There are 2 apples, 2 peaches, 2 apricots, a nectarine, a plum, and a red Bartlett pear. And you know, in hindsight, I should have probably done this morning. Because look at this. I am going to be a muddy mess at the end of this project. I should have done it when the soil was frozen. But if we get in here, you can see that some of the bulbs are starting to come up. That's so exciting. I can see a whole bunch of green tips in this area. What was it, like 9,000 bulbs we planted in this space last year? It's gonna be so pretty. But we've got a Honeycrisp apple here. That is a flavor top nectarine. That's the Santa Rosa plum. Red Bartlett pear is hanging out right back behind the shed. We've got this is a Harcott apricot right here, which I'm on the fence about whether to keep it. It's a super healthy tree, but I just didn't love the flavor last year of the apricots. I thought I might give it one more year just to see if it was a one-off for the first year it was planted. Anyway, you can see more work is being done. We're actually going to recut the gable and make it a little smaller. Anyway, lots going on. And then on this side, we have the 2 peaches. There's an Alberta and a Snow Beauty White. Is that what it's called? I think it is. And then this is a Tilton apricot, which fantastic apricots. I actually tagged a new one because this one has canker. I think it had it when I planted it and I just didn't notice. Look at that. That's not good. Like, this tree would probably grow and bear fruit for a few years, and then all of a sudden it would start dying or it would crack and split. So I don't really want to invest a bunch of time into a tree like that. So we are going to be replacing that one. And then this here is our Fuji apple. So today we're going to be spraying with a horticultural oil. We're going to be using it as a dormant oil, clearly, which means we're going to be mixing it at a different rate than we would be mixing it during the growing season. That will help envelop and smother any overwintering insect eggs. It also helps with powdery mildew, rust, which are 2 issues on fruit trees sometimes. Liquid copper is the other thing we're going to be spraying, and that will help with like bacterial blights, leaf curl, which is a big deal for us. Peaches and plums in particular suffer from leaf curl. In fact, last year I talked to you about it and showed you the Pixie miniature peach near our chicken coop. It had leaf curl horribly bad the year before, and I sprayed it about this time last year, and it didn't have it at all last year. It had big, beautiful fruit. It was wonderful. And you know, we live in a valley full of orchards, and so talking with the people who take care of the trees, they usually say that this round of spray, so you can be doing like a 3-part spray regimen where you spray this exact same stuff I'm spraying today, but you do it like late November after all the leaves have fallen off the trees, and then you repeat again on a nice day in January, and then you do it again around mid-February, March-ish, which is the 3rd and last spray of this type. And they say as long as you get this last spray in, if you missed the first 2, which I did again this winter, you're probably going to be good. So, and last year I had beautiful fruit, beautiful trees, didn't really deal with much of anything other than finding that canker on the apricot. So I figure if I can get away spraying once rather than spraying 3 times, I'm just going to continue with that schedule until I see that maybe there's a bigger problem or something like that. And here are the goods. I've got a 2-gallon pump sprayer. You can use a hose end if your trees are bigger. I could use it today as well, but I didn't want to get a hose out, and I really don't need it. My trees are small enough that this is fine. And these are the sprays. So this is an all seasons horticultural and dormant oil. We're going to be using this at a rate of 2.5 ounces per gallon. So I'll be putting 5 ounces in here since we're filling this to the 2-gallon mark. You will mix it differently depending on what you're spraying, when you're spraying it, and what reasons you're spraying it. But as a dormant oil, it's 2.5 ounces per gallon. And then copper fungicide, same thing. Check the label out. Depending on what you're spraying, the instructions will be different, but we will be using 2 ounces per gallon. So I will be putting 4 in here. I'm going to put these in together and spray. And the oil will help this adhere to the branches. I've got these little cups right here, which are super handy. See the marks on the side? It tells you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ounces. And there's milliliters or cc's as well. Makes it really easy to measure out what you need to very accurately. I'm super thankful we put a frost-free out here so I have water very close by. But now we just need to get it done. I'll try to show you close up as I'm spraying. I don't know how that's gonna go, but basically you just saturate the tree. Get the undersides of the branches in particular, the top sides, the trunk, all the whole area. The whole tree, you want it to kind of be dripping in the end. So let's mix this up and then we'll get started. We sacrificed the shoes a little bit today. Good thing they're easy to rinse off. But all the trees have been sprayed, which is a good feeling. I went ahead and sprayed this apricot just in case I learned something new and I don't end up taking it out. But I'm probably going to take it out. So we've got all of our bulbs in there. We are going to be trenching a water line right down the center of the trees on either side of the cut flower shed, and then one line all the way along the back fence line. It'll be out about a foot or so from the fence so that we can irrigate the orchard, but I am planning on putting grass and wildflowers and things like that in this area, so we hopefully should have a little bit more of a sturdy floor going by next spring. This area will be an evolving process though. I've never planted an actual meadow before in Eastern Oregon. We do have the ability to irrigate, so I may have a little bit more choice in terms of variety and such, but I'm not going to want to irrigate it a ton because of the fruit trees. I want to do just enough to keep them happy, but put things underneath that are compatible with that. Before we leave the orchard, I did want to show you where I plan on putting the Paraspalier that's currently behind the greenhouse. I do think I'm going to move it. I'm not positive 100%, but pretty sure. So we're on the other side of the orchard now. We started over here. Look at this one big black cloud. Just came out for us. I mean, it's like little and it's just right overhead, but look at the rest of the sky. Oh, it's just gorgeous out here. But I've got this 10-foot section of fence with nothing going by it. And I thought it would be a really good opportunity to put that espalier somewhere where I can harvest the fruit easier, prune it easier. It's fine where it's at now if I keep it its current size, but I'd kind of like to be able to train it out a little further and get maximum production from it. I can plant the trunk, right along the center beam and then train it out either way. And it gets morning sun, a big, strong block of morning sun right here. And if I stand right by it and turn around, you can see the flower beds where we are developing. This is where the high tunnels were last year, but this is going to be flower bed this year with a little lane still right in front. So we can get to the back of the orchard fence easily. Gosh, I just can't get over that sky. Okay, let's go spray our last 2 fruit trees. Wait a minute, I think it's snowing. I think this one black cloud is snowing, Benjamin. Do you see the snowflakes coming down? Did you get one on your face? You have got to be kidding me right now with the snow. Just a few flakes, and I don't think it's going to last very long. So we've got the dark cloud above us and blue skies. Oh, our weather is so weird. All right, so we are next to the chicken coop now. Benjamin is in there giving them some treats. I can hear him. Hey, girls. They are. They love it when they see you coming. They get lots of treats. Spoiled chickies. And here's our miniature peach tree. I need to do a little bit of flower bed cleanup. I'm going to wait until after this cold front that's moving through this next week to trim back roses and do all that sort of stuff. But here it is. It's been in this container for a couple of seasons. I'll probably think about moving it out into either a larger container or the ground this season or next, but it's been doing really, really well. And I was just so thrilled with how many peaches it produced last year. So let's get this one all taken care of. Hey, that one's good. Okay, so here's the pear espalier looking absolutely beautiful. It produced so many pears last year. This is a Shinseki Asian pear, and they were so delicious. Can you guys see the snow falling? Like, ideally you would be doing this on a day where it wasn't snowing or raining, but I don't think it's gonna last long. Okay, this will just take a minute. All done. I'm in the greenhouse because it's much warmer in here than it is outside for the moment. How weird, when the sun is out, it is just lovely out, but that big black cloud, it's almost past. The sun is right at the edge of it. So it should brighten up here in a second, but boy, that got chilly for a second. Anyway, that pear behind the greenhouse in the raised bed, it's gonna be a beast to get it out of that raised bed because it's been in there for 2 years. It's growing beautifully, so it really likes its spot, which makes me think that the root ball is gonna be massive. But I thought, I wonder, because we have to have chads coming out, you know, this spring to kind of work the area around our Hartley and help us remove some things and level it out. I thought, if he has his machine here, maybe he can dig me a great big hole over there. And then we could get the pear tree, like maybe unassemble the raised bed around the root ball and kind of just scoot it into the tractor and then go plop it in a hole. So we don't have to disrupt the root ball a ton, because if we try to dig that out and lift it up out of the raised bed, I don't know, but I think it's going to be much better out there probably than over here. We'll see what happens. I have no idea what I'm going to put in place of it back there, but something a little bit shorter. Anyway, that's it. One more late winter gardening chore checked off the list. That always feels nice to know that everything's like ready to wake up properly. So we shouldn't be dealing with any major insect or fungal pressure out there. Hopefully, I mean, you never know what's going to happen. We try to keep as close of an eye on things as possible, but I didn't even catch the canker on the apricot. And I think what happened, it's something that happens when you have like open wounds on a tree. And I know I had those fruit trees the full prior season to actually planting them, and the heater's kicking on. I don't know if you guys can hear that. It's a wonderful sound. Where was I at? Oh, anyway, so I had those trees for a full season, and they kept falling down before we eventually tied them up, and they got kind of bruised up on their trunks a little bit, and I think it entered through one of those. So I think the problem started prior, like the year prior, and I just didn't see it. I was so excited to get them planted. We just planted them, and anyway, those things happen. It's just part of gardening. So anyway, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. We should have some beautiful pepper plants here fairly soon. I'll let you guys know when they germinate. And I hope you guys are all having a really good day. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye.